Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today, Friday, February 28th of 2020, is the 1 year anniversary of this channel. Now the channel's been up longer than that, mind you. I've done videos before that, deleted the videos, came back and made new videos, deleted old videos. But this channel has been Michael GoosebumpsFan labeled since February 28th of 1999, listen to me, 2019. So it's been 1 year now, and the channel, the growth on this channel is amazing to me. The growth of the audience, people coming in, people casually coming in as well, and then end up subscribing. It's not because of me, it's just because of our community, guys. And I think that this is something I'm having so much fun with. And I want to thank you first and foremost for being patient with me this week. I haven't really put up any videos at all. I put up the 2 reviews, the Things Like Goosebumps videos for Channel 0, Season 1 and Season 2. I haven't really read anything this week. I'm starting a diet this week, the 1 meal a day diet, and that is something I'm easing my way into. Today is like the first day I haven't had anything to eat pretty much all day long, except for this one meal I'm about to have in a moment. Really, really excited about this. I'm glad that for once I'm finding a diet that I'm actually digging. And so I've been kind of sleepy, just tired, not really doing anything. I've been catching up on some TV and whatnot. Just haven't been in the mood to read. And I'm in the middle of Bad Hair Day. I'm about 40 pages into that book. It's about 117 pages. And I really, really like it. I think it's a really good book. It has nothing to do with the book being bad or anything. It's not like amazing, but it's good. I like it. So hopefully sometime by the end of this weekend, I also have a wedding I have to attend on Saturday. Not my own, but my best friend from childhood. I'm going to be at that wedding all day long. It's like an hour and 40 minutes away from my house. So yeah, it's going to be a busy week, or weekend. Anyway, it's been a busy week. I'm sorry I haven't had any content up for you. I hope that this video will kind of make up for that in a little bit. I know that we talked about last week or the week before last about what we could do for the 1 year anniversary. As the title says, you might not be entirely happy with this. I have a Q&A video planned. We only have about 6 questions. I'm sorry. That's really all I could think to put up for you guys. I saw a lot of recommendations down in the comments of that video saying what should we do for our first channel's anniversary, or whatever the title of the video was. And we saw a lot of great recommendations down there. A lot of people liked each other's comments and commented back and forth with each other about stuff. A lot of the comments were about doing like your top 10 books currently of all of the series, different thoughts on certain things here or there. I thought maybe we should just do a straight up Q&A, and maybe eventually these questions might end up becoming their own video at some point. But I'm going to go ahead and just do a Q&A here. Doesn't matter how many times I answer the questions, people always still ask. That's just the way it is as a YouTuber or any kind of Goosebumps channel type thing. As a booktuber, any of that stuff. The first 2 questions come from a person who comments on pretty much all of my videos, Michael Jordan. Not the Michael Jordan, but our Michael Jordan. And this guy, we talk a lot about different things, different books that come out, and I like talking to him. He's a cool guy. Michael Jordan's first question that he asked was, I'm trying to find it real quick. He had it like towards the end of his comment. It was like 2 paragraphs. My question is, what are your thoughts on the HorrorLand series? There's another question after that, like I said, but we'll start there. My thoughts on the HorrorLand series. I was planning on at some point doing an overview, which is kind of like a big review of the entire series together. Kind of like a lot of people do with A Song of Ice and Fire, even though it's not done. People do that with TV shows. For me, the HorrorLand series' biggest weakness is the idea of everything being in order. Like, it has that little tag on the last 20 or 40 pages of the book being a big shared story amongst all the different characters from all the different HorrorLand books. Carly Beth is involved, Brittany and What's-His-Face are involved from the first book, the what is it called, Revenge of the Living Dummy? Yeah, the first HorrorLand book. Now, the standalone stories, a lot of them I've really enjoyed a lot. Revenge of the Living Dummy was one. I love Creep from the Deep. At this point, Creep from the Deep, if I had to pick one as my favorite, it's either that or Slappy New Year, more than likely. Dr. Maniac versus Robbie Schwartz was pretty good. I really, really dug that. Scream of the Haunted Mask is okay for the most part. I don't love it. It's good. It's fine for what it is. It's the weakest of the whole series of the Haunted Mask for me. But that doesn't mean it's horrible. That's better than a lot of Goosebumps books. It has some eeriness, like the horses thing, that I like. The ending is kind of wild, you know? It is what it is. I like the book. The third book, Monster Blood for Breakfast, was horrible. It's horrible. Of course, I have plans coming up to read some of the other books, like Say Cheese and Die, wait, Say Cheese and Die Screaming Again, I think is the third book's title that's in the HorrorLand series. You have the Mummy, or what is it? The Mummy book that's in the HorrorLand series. I'm excited to read that as well. Who's Your Mummy, I think is what it's called. I haven't read any of the Mummy books. I love Mummy movies, though, especially the Universal Monsters films. People have heard me rave over that all the time here on the channel. So you guys know I have a love for that. Not only with that, but there's a lot of things in here I'm curious about. Like Jonathan Chiller, one of the books I read was the next to last, I believe, book that was called Slappy New Year. And Slappy New Year had this whole idea about this guy named Jonathan Chiller that's involved. He works at HorrorLand. That was really interesting to me. I'm curious to see where that's going to go. I know there's one book that's based on like Chiller House or whatever. I think it's the last book of the entire HorrorLand series. Again, the whole problem for the HorrorLand series is having everything where you have to read it in order. Because if you want to read the end stories and not just the standalone stories, you're going to get lost without that. I don't like that personally. I think it was a bad move on Goosebumps' part. I think it was a bad move on Scholastic's part. I think it was a bad move on R.L. Stein's part. It might have not even been Stein's idea, but it sounds like a Stein idea, so I assume that it was his idea. It was a terrible marketing idea. It doesn't work. And it's not really that engaging, because by the time I get to the next book, since I'm not reading them in order, well, I am, but not like one after another. I'm reading like a couple of books in between and whatnot, where I'm not reading them directly all straight through. I'm getting lost without the little recap sometimes. And the recap's there now, so I'm thankful for that. By the time I've gotten to book 5 or 6, wherever I'm at right now, I'm glad that they have the recap, so I know what happened in previous books. I can remember a certain character went vanishing, or turned invisible, or characters went missing. Everybody's been looking for them. Some friends over here of friends that are mutual friends have gone missing. So much stuff has happened. And then, of course, my first book that I read of the HorrorLand series, aside from Revenge of the Living Dummy, was Return to Horrorland, I believe is what it was called. Escape from Horrorland? Escape from Horrorland, that's what it was. And that book was mostly okay. I enjoyed it. But the problem with that is that was a straight up, the whole book. It was not like a story for like 100 and something pages and then 40 pages of a HorrorLand tie-in for that big series going on throughout the whole book series. It wasn't like that. You had to get the next book too to read immediately after that, called like Escape from Panic Park or whatever it was. And I have that now. I didn't have it at the time when I read it, so I was immediately like, I don't know what's going on. I'm lost a little bit. Not too much, but lost enough where I don't understand and really appreciate what was going on. Even now, as I've read many of the books up to that point, to that Escape from Horrorland book, I still don't really love all that I've read. I kind of think that you could almost jump into Escape from Horrorland without having to read what came before it. That's not really a good idea, though. That wasn't the whole point of the series. And again, the HorrorLand series expanded after that whole storyline ended. They turned into the Jonathan Chiller thing going on. You have all these Ooze books, you know, like the Wizard of Ooze and stuff that are kind of thrown in there as a title. It's very clever and interesting, but for me, it's probably, in my opinion, at least off the top of my head, when it comes to the big book series of Goosebumps, like Slappy World, the Classics, Series 2000, I would say for me personally, it is the weakest of the series. It's very kiddish, you know, whereas Series 2000 is one of my favorites. It's very dark from what I've read. You have things like Most Wanted that has a lot of darkness to it. It has a lot of the Series 2000 feel in its blood. Some of it's crap, like Son of Slappy, which is almost entirely crap. Then you have the great ones like Frankenstein's Dog in the Most Wanted series, which I love as a huge Frankenstein fan. There's so many good things about so many of the other series that don't have to have, you know, you reading straight through books 1 through whatever, you know. I appreciate that. I like that more. That's my only big nitpick with the HorrorLand series, aside from it feeling more kiddish a lot of the time. Otherwise, it's fine. I like it. It feels like Goosebumps. It feels like Stein wrote it. I just don't like that HorrorLand tie-in. But it was cool to have this idea. If you had had standalone books that were like full-fledged, like the Escape from Horrorland book, where the entire book is focused around these characters trying to get out of this entire scary theme park, kind of like an expanded version of One Day at Horrorland in a better way than what we got with the HorrorLand series, little 40-page pieces at the end of each book. If you had done that better, just full-fledged books based around people trying to escape from this place, I would have loved that a lot more. I think you could have done like a 5-book series based around that, and I think Stein could have pulled it off. I think it would have been a better idea than what we got. And that's pretty much my thoughts on HorrorLand. I've talked about that for like 20 minutes now. Moving along, the other question that Michael Jordan, our Michael Jordan, asked was, let's see, what do you think of, hold on, let me phrase this in my head before I try to speak it. What do you think, if Goosebumps Gold did happen, would Goosebumps be even bigger now? I don't think so. I think that Goosebumps Gold would have come at the time where Harry Potter had already pretty much killed Goosebumps. People like you and I that grew up on Goosebumps would have cared about that. I don't know how old Michael Jordan is. I think he's a younger fellow from what I remember him saying at one time. I could be confusing him with somebody else, but I think that's what he said. But people like myself, the 90s kids, I was born in 94, it's kind of mid-90s, I know, but I got into Goosebumps in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and when I got into it, it was the kind of thing where it wasn't really popular anymore. You know, there were people who were still holding on and clinging to it desperately, but I don't think Gold could have saved it. Now, I do want that Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays from Dead House book, the sequel to Welcome to Dead House, the first ever Goosebumps book. I still want that. We got Slappy New Year. I don't think that Haunted Mask Lives book was ever made into them. Because, of course, for anybody who doesn't know, Goosebumps Gold was a series that was going to come out, and Series 2000 ended up being the replacement. A lot of the stories ended up not being published at all. Again, Happy Holidays from Dead House was never made, as far as I know. Slappy New Year was going to be one. They have the covers for each of these three books, by the way, in case you want to check them out. Tim Jacobus did the covers as well. Slappy New Year, I believe, is the HorrorLand book. I believe it eventually got released there. Haunted Mask Lives is a really cool cover. I love how the kid is like trying to pull it off like a Venom symbiote from the Spider-Man series. I love that about that cover. It's so cool and so eerie. I would love another Haunted Mask book. It's not hard to write a Haunted Mask book. You have 1,000 Slappy books. Can we please get a 5th Haunted Mask book that's good? Not like, not some kind of weirdo type thing like the 3rd book that was just odd. You know, Scream of the Haunted Mask. It was a good book, but it was weird. Kind of a weird witchcraft type thing. It was good, but, you know, whatever. I would like to see Goosebumps Gold get the final 2 titles released out there, if they're not already in some aspect. I think it's too late to start the whole Gold brand name now. Like, just stop Slappy World and start up the Gold franchise. I don't think it could work. And I don't think it would have saved Goosebumps. I think even if it was darker, like Series 2000 ended up being, it still didn't save Goosebumps. And from what I've read personally, I really love a lot of Series 2000 books. I have to tell you, it didn't save Goosebumps. It might have made a lot of people still interested in the series. It's making people like myself who never even knew that existed until about a year ago when I got into reading Goosebumps and collecting Goosebumps again. I didn't even know Series 2000 was a thing. I had just heard about Slappy's Nightmare like 2 years ago, and I picked that up. Originally, what I was going to do, I'll get into this in a second, by the way. Let me just hold off on that. Because I don't want to tell you too much, because I think one of the questions that another user that commented called It Is Me, that's her screen name, I think she asked kind of the same thing. But my whole point, Goosebumps Gold could not have saved Goosebumps, but it would have been loved and appreciated more than likely, especially with sequels like Welcome to Dead House or Happy Holidays at Dead House, because I want more Christmas books, man. Why does Goosebumps not have any more Christmas books? I know I was supposed to read a lot last year for Christmas before the Copa situation happened, but I'm sorry, it was a panic situation. I got totally depressed. But I want that Haunted Mask Lives book. I hope it wasn't what Screaming the Haunted Mask was supposed to be. I'm assuming it was, because that was another Carly Beth book. More than likely that was the case, and that was a release of Haunted Mask Lives. I don't know. I would like Goosebumps Gold's like manuscripts leaked out in public when R.L. Stine dies, if I'm still alive. I'd like to read those. I think it'd be interesting. Or if they were just kind of published after he died, you could call them Goosebumps Legacy and just release books that he hadn't published, which would be hard for me to believe that he hadn't published certain things. He's still writing a ton of stuff. He just announced recently he's doing a Garbage Pail Kids book series, which I'm going to be picking out. I'm totally going to be checking that out, because I want to know if it's any good. I'm not familiar with them entirely, but they are pretty sick. There's that horrible movie made, too. Anyway, thank you, Michael Jordan, for your comments. I really appreciate it, man. I'm going to look right here, too. Okay, I don't think you had anything else listed here. Okay, like I said, there was another user who comments on a lot of my videos. Her screen name is called It Is Me. Very sweet lady, very sweet girl, constantly comments on a lot of the stuff and really enjoys the channel. I'm very thankful for that, and I'm very thankful, by the way, again, for you guys either listening to me ramble all the time or listening to me just complain, because that happens sometimes with videos. I'm just thankful that you guys are talking to me and that we're able to share this community together and talk about Goosebumps. It's such a fun thing, and people don't know how to appreciate it anymore, you know? It's like TV is kind of dead now. Books, in my opinion, are kind of dead. I don't really like books aside from like Goosebumps, and I'm getting into like Fear Street sometimes. Stuff like that, the basic stuff. I like Stine's writing style, mainly. Even Copycats for like Shivers. I haven't read that, but I've read some things like Shivers, and it interests me what people are doing with this kind of genre. you know, with myself, I'm still working on my horror short story collection for young adults, or not really for young adults, not like a YA book or anything like that. It's more of like a middle grade book, kind of like what Goosebumps is. But mine's genuinely scary, I think. I'm genuinely terrified of it. It actually scared some of my girlfriend, you know, when I showed her some of the stories. And I want more people to take advantage of this era of bookmaking, because when they just make adult books or when they just make young adult books, they usually suck, in my opinion. They're usually overwritten and too long. They're like 500 pages for no reason. I don't like that. I like Goosebumps because it's very short, it's very sweet, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's quick. And if it's a bad book, it's over in no time, you know? It doesn't mean that doesn't mean you didn't. I was gonna make a joke and it died. It doesn't mean you didn't suffer trying to get through the book, but you know, it's not as bad as sitting through like a 900-page Stephen King book that could be bad. But anyway, getting to It Is Me, I appreciate anybody, including her, who commented on the video, who watched my videos, who talked to other people about the videos. I'm really thankful for all of you guys being here. It really means a whole lot to me, more than I could thank you for. And I'm just blessed to have you guys here. I'm really thankful that God has brought you guys into my life. I'm really thankful that we're almost at 300 subscribers. I thought for sure we were going to break it, because we were jumping like 4 and 5 subscribers a day, and that's really good for my small little channel. I thought we would break 300 by today. It didn't happen. That's fine. I just thought it would be cool if we did, because it'd be right at there. We have about 300 videos here on the channel. It would have been a cool coincidence, but hopefully by next year we'll have broken the 300 mark and crossed those 9 more subscribers to get. Anyway, going on to her question, she had quite a few. She had like 4 different questions. Some are kind of fused together into one question, but I'll try to divide them as best I can just for you guys, because I love you that much. The first question was, how did you first hear about Goosebumps? I've talked a little bit about this in the past. I believe, I loved Fox Kids, but when I was a child, my parents didn't let me have cable TV in my room. I had a TV in my room, I had a VCR in my room, and I watched Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, excuse me, not Phantom Menace, probably a billion times. And I can't even sit through the film mostly nowadays without it being a random marathon of all the old original trilogy, because I've seen that movie so many times. And somewhere around my house, I have the golden first special edition release that was the VHS tape that I watched over and over and over again. I had that, I had a Winnie the Pooh VHS tape when there was an old cartoon that he had. It was like a train thing, like a Jesse James parody, and it was freaking great, and I want to get that VHS sometime off eBay or something and watch it again, because I think we sold our copy. But anyway, I loved that. I had those two. I had, I think I had something else. It wasn't Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, because those movies scared me when I was a kid. I didn't like Luke getting his hand cut off. I didn't like Vader dying. It was traumatizing to me when I was a child, and yet I'm the biggest Star Wars fan ever. I love it to death. I'm not the biggest fan, but, you know, still. I hate what Disney's done to Star Wars. I had to go there. I'm sorry, I did. But moving along, I don't think I saw Goosebumps on Fox Kids when the TV show was coming on. I'm pretty confident I did not know about the books until I saw the show. And I'm assuming the first time I ever saw the show is when I actually, let me move these things out of the way here. I believe it was actually around the time that I went to my film rental store that we went to all the time as a family. We didn't go to Blockbuster as much as most people. We went to Hollywood Video, and they typically had a VHS of Night of the Living Dummy 3. When I was a child, I was terrified of Chucky the doll. Like Child's Play. Child's Play 2, 3, Bride of Chucky, all that stuff. I was terrified of Chucky the doll, and had certain nightmares about things like that that scared me to death. And then I came across this. My mom looked into it, of course, on the back it says it's rated like G, without just being a G for Goosebumps, like right there. Anyway, she knew it was a kid's show, and she had heard about it because, you know, she's been around for a while. And she rented it for me. She usually let me watch anything I wanted to, like horror movie-wise. If there was a lot of nudity, she wouldn't let me. But a lot of other stuff, like Friday the 13th, listen to me. Like Nightmare on Elm Street films with Freddy Krueger, or like Michael Myers films like Halloween and stuff, I would get to watch those, but I would have to watch them with her so she could skip over the bad stuff. The killing was fine, but not the nudity. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me either. It's parenting of the 20th century, or 21st century. Whatever we're in. You know what I mean. But I believe that the first time I ever heard of Goosebumps was from Night of the Living Dummy 3's VHS tape. It might have also been the Haunted Mask 1, I believe. The VHS tape for that. They also had that at the time. Eventually, I ended up getting the VHS that I've also shown you and reviewed here on the channel as well for Bride of the Living Dummy, which is like one of my favorite Goosebumps things ever. They also have the There's an episode on there about two boys. Old Story. An Old Story was really, really good. I was on that tape with Bride of the Living Dummy, and it was fantastic. I still love that episode. So I believe that my first ever exposure to Goosebumps was that VHS tape at Hollywood Video Once Upon a Time. It's gone now. The VHS tape is gone now. I'm glad I have my own that came recently in the mail, because I can see it again for like the VHS quality, which I love watching movies on VHS. I think it's so much better than watching things on DVD. It just feels better. Unless it's a DVD that I grew up with and I've had all my life. Like my copy of Night of the Living Dummy 3. But eventually I had what I talked about constantly in my videos, a skating rink birthday party, where I was obsessed with skating rinks. All of us were in the early 2000s. And my grandparents and my mom, and my dad I guess too, got me a box. Like, they would always like pack clothes. Like, they would take like, so for example, they would always take like clothes boxes you'd get at like JCPenney's or like Belk or something like that, which are clothing stores here in America. And they would put like tissue paper in there, and then they still do this to this day. And they'll put like movies and books inside of that. And I opened up one box and had tons of Goosebumps books in there. Bad Hair Day, the copy I'm actually reading right now. I don't have it in the room with me. It's actually downstairs in my finished side of my basement. Bad Hair Day is one of the books that I got. I show you guys a lot of the stuff. I have a Headless Ghost, I think is what it was called. Ghost Next Door. Not a Living Dummy, the first one. That's one of them. 2 and 3 also. Those are also re-release covers that came out at that time that I have. So a lot of my collection is from those old re-releases that, or reissues, whatever you'd like to call them, at that time, the early 2003 to 2005 times. And that was that birthday that I got those books and really got into it. There was also a bookmarker that I have around here somewhere. It's just like a silver thing. It came from Books A Million, and it had an M, you know, because my name is Michael. And I remember, if you go through some of my books that I got at that skating rink birthday party, you can see little nicks at the top of the pages because of that weird little metal bookmark that would tear pages on books. So I can't use the bookmark anymore, but I do have it. It's actually over here somewhere on one of my little boxes back here. And it means so much to me when I look at some of those books, because they're so old and they're something that have grown with me as an adult. It's crazy, you know, this whole thing. Who would have known that by the time 2020 got around here, that Goosebumps would have like 400 books, number one, and number two, that Goosebumps would be in the case where it would have like 7 or 8 different series of books, if you include things like the Trilogy. Is it called the Trilogy? You know, the little 3-story short story book thing you could get with like Doritos and Pepsi and stuff back in the day. I did a review for all of those. Stuff like that. By the time you include that, there's almost 10 series, all the way up to Slappy World now, since the 90s. That's a lot of time. It's been like 30 years that Goosebumps has been around almost. It's insane. By the time that 2022 comes around, it will have been around for 30 years. I mean, it's crazy. I'll be like 28 at that time. I physically can't get over how insane that is. I'm thankful that I got to grow up with this awesome little thing and see people here on YouTube as well who also love and appreciate this as much as I do. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question because I've rambled long enough. Maybe you guys like the videos for that. I don't know. What was your absolute favorite episode and book as a kid? Favorite episode, Not a Living Dummy 3. Probably, I would say. Either that or The Haunted Mask 1 or 2. Somewhere in there. It's one of those. I would say Dummy 3, because Dummy 3 reminded me of my grandparents, not the grandparents that I've lived with most of my life, but my other grandparents on my dad's side. They remind me so much of their old house that they had when I was a kid. And when I watch that episode now, I still imagine my cousins and I, my 2 cousins mainly, that I spent most of my time with when I was growing up. I still imagine the 3 of us being the 3 kids. You know, Zane and, I can't remember the other, Daniel, what was the girl's name? Sarah, I think? Whatever the girl's name was from that. I always picture the 3 of us being like that, because we had like this obsession with ventriloquist dummies. Mainly me, but they did it too. They won't admit it now, but they did. They did. We all loved that, and just the kind of little adventures we would get in as kids, as, you know, 8 and 7 and 9 years old and stuff, were just amazing times. And that episode reminds me so much of those days. And I talked about that in my review for the episode as well, about how much that meant to me in that respect too. If I had to pick a favorite book as a kid, it was probably Night of the Living Dummy, the first one, because of the cover of the book. I still think Tim Jacobus, That art on that book is like one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. I still stand by the fact that I think that will petrify kids no matter what age they are, no matter how old you are. I think there's something about that cover that's just plain evil. You know, the newer covers are so cartoonish, and that cover was not. Even compared to Not a Living Dummy 2 and 3, that first book's cover for book number 7 is so spooky, and no one talks about that. The eyes, the mouth, the detailing of it, it's the shading, how he's just like in the dark. It's freaking creepy, man, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite book covers from Goosebumps ever. Maybe that's a video I could do, too, is the top 10 favorite Goosebumps book covers. I think somebody mentioned that to me as well in the comments of this video I'm talking about and getting my ideas and my questions from. But I would like to do that video. If you want that, put that down in the comment section. I'd love to talk to you about my favorite book covers so far, or what I've seen so far. Maybe we could do like a top 15 or something, because there's a lot of books, and there's a lot of good covers out there as well. A lot of crappy covers, too. We could do the worst covers as well if you want that. But there are books still being released. You know, this is not like Shivers, where it stopped coming out 20 years ago and probably will never be made again. It's not like that. So, there's books still coming out. We can either wait, or we don't have to. It's whatever you guys want to do. Just put them down below. We can always update that list one day. Did it change? What did your favorite episode and book change as you read and watched as an adult? Which would, I guess, be about right now. I would still say, at this current moment, that Not a Living Dummy 3 is still my favorite episode. Just because of the nostalgic memories, because of how much that meant to me, and as you've heard me ramble on for so long, there's a lot of love and emotion that comes with that for me. When I watch it, I almost want to cry sometimes when I watch it, because it sounds stupid, I know. But when you're an adult, especially for a lot of you younger viewers, I think when you get to my age, 25, 26, I know it's not that old. But when you get there, and you're very sentimental like myself, you'll know. You'll know how much it bothers you that a lot of things that were around when you were younger are not around anymore. A lot of things you used to be able to do, you can't do anymore. Not even just physically, but just like for example, Xbox Live. I used to play so much freaking Xbox Live on the 360 when I was younger, in high school. And it's dead now. People play Xbox One online. It ain't the same. It's not the same. People don't trash talk the way they used to. Not really. The games don't really come out anymore. They don't have first-person shooters. They don't have experimental first-person shooters, like when they remade Wolfenstein. So there are things like Not a Living Dummy 3 that mean certain things so desperately to me, just like the Haunted Mask 1 and 2, those episodes, that I love desperately, and I just adore them. And I could not say that any episode could top that episode for me. When it comes to the book, I've said this over and over again, I'm not really sure how I feel yet, but if I had to pick like a favorite book from the classic series, and I'll also answer for another one too, when she asked if my favorite book has changed at this point in my life, my favorite book at this current point, when it comes to the classic series, is either Ghost Camp or You Can't Scare Me. I know a lot of people don't really consider those books the best. I consider them the scariest of all the Goosebumps books I've read from the old classic series. I've read close to half of those books, and I'm telling you, those two books freak me out, man. There's something about the urban legend lore and the feel to those that I love. I love the mud monster. I love the floating head in Ghost Camp. That is freaking creepy, man. I love those two books. They're so special and so good. And I cannot believe people hate those books. I think Michael Jordan is one of the people that comments down in my videos saying that he hates You Can't Scare Me. It's like his worst book from the Goosebumps series. That's baffling to me, how anybody could say that that book is the worst. I don't get it, but opinions are, you know, like butts. I was going to say more, but just butts. Everybody has one. But, yeah, when it comes to the overall series, like all of the Goosebumps book series ever, if I had to pick a favorite book, at the current moment, mind you, at the current moment, it's going to be kind of tied amongst a lot of different things. Little Comic Book Shop of Horrors is amazing from the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. Ghost Camp, again, You Can't Scare Me again. Frankenstein's Dog was really great aside from the cover being a freaking lie. Let's see. What else is there? Slappy's Nightmare is really great until the last chapter. I hate the last chapter. I think it's like one of the worst Goosebumps endings ever. For most of the book being great, that ending sucks. I think there was another one I was considering too. That's like one of my top tier favorites of what I've read so far. Out of 1 year of really digging into these things, there's a lot of stuff that I really love and admire and enjoy so much. Books that I didn't even think I was going to like Why I'm Afraid of Bees. are fantastic and really kind of surprised me by how much I enjoyed them. Yeah, I'd say that one of those books that I just mentioned are probably my favorite. There's probably something I'm forgetting right now off the top of my head that I don't remember. But I think I've got pretty much everything. Haunted Mask 2 was really good too. I think that ending with the shop, I won't spoil it for you, but that ending really got to me. I think it is absolutely petrifying. Oh, I know the book I forgot. Wanted the Haunted Mask, which is, you know, the first book of the Most Wanted series before I got changed the title from Wanted to the Most Wanted. That book, when I had my back injury, right, in 2018, was it 17 or 2018? I think it was 2018. Yeah. When I had my back injury, I was down for like 10 months, and I couldn't do anything. And at one point, I just kind of like, I saw that copy of the paperback on my shelf, and I remembered that my grandmother, who has passed away, you know, in 2015, I remembered that she had gotten that for me, and just as a weird, like, comfort thing, even as an adult, you know, I was like, you know, I want to read that book, because she got it for me. It was like 200 pages. It wasn't even close to Halloween. It was like summertime, I think. And I sat down and I burned through that book in like 3 days. And I have never regretted it since. I think the shock in my mind of how gory and bloody and scary that book is, how it made me rethink the idea of a closet, I'll never forget it. I stand by it. I think Goosebumps Wanted the Haunted Mask is one of the best books, one of the scariest books. It might possibly be my personal favorite. I'm going to figure this stuff out before I end up doing the big video I want to do one day. I have these weird, grandiose feelings that one day I want to be able to do a big, massive review for every, like a ranking video, mind you, a big ranking video for every single Goosebumps book ever made. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if I'll be alive. I don't know if I'll remember the stories well enough to be able to do that. But I'm going to try. I'm actually organizing the list as I read books, putting them in order, because I want to make sure that I can get the stuff down right. Make sure I don't have to go through and reread the stuff. I have the exposure at the current moment. So at some point I want to do that. So when I get eventually to that list and have to prioritize the top, like what do I consider better than Ghost Camp, what do I consider better than You Can't Scare Me, Wanted the Haunted Mask, all that stuff, I'm going to have it organized and figured out by then. At this point, I can just tell you those books that I loved as a handful of what I adore so much about Goosebumps as my top tier favorites, like my top 5 or whatever it was. Those books you can't go wrong with, in my opinion. I think all of them are fantastic. It's going to be a hard list to make one day. But let's move along. I gotta turn my alarm off real quick before that blasts and scares me half to death. Oh, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine, actually. I have like another 10 minutes. Anyway, let's see. The last question that she had to ask was greatest nostalgic memory with Goosebumps, which is kind of the skating rink memory and probably the also going to Hollywood Video and renting Goosebumps like every single weekend. I rented that. I rented the Dragon Ball Z VHS tape that had Goku and Frieza on the top when Goku had first went Super Saiyan. And I rented those VHS tapes over and over and over again. I remember going through that store and seeing, even though Not a Living Dummy 3's cover terrified me, I remember seeing other things in there, like the remake of Psycho that's so bad, like that cover of the shower curtain used to scare me to death when I was a kid. It was just something ominous about it. I didn't know anything about the film. I hadn't seen the film. But that cover freaked me out when I was a kid. So, just the memories surrounding Goosebumps, like the skating rink thing, Not a Living Dummy 3, and my cousins and I playing with the dummies. There are so many nostalgic memories surrounding that mean the world to me. And my family probably doesn't realize that. My fiance probably doesn't even realize that. As much stuff as I have laying around from Goosebumps, and I'm still buying Goosebumps stuff, like the hardcover books and whatnot. I'm thankful that I had all these wonderful memories. I'm thankful that I lived in a country where God blessed me with these dumb little things, you know? But I'm also thankful immensely, like I said, that all of you have come to the channel and that we've been able to talk about these things. I know that there's kind of been weird moments, like with the Copa situation, where I've just kind of stopped making videos. This past week where I've had just a weird week, just haven't read anything and uploaded anything. You know, this coming year in 2020, I'm getting married in April. And so the content's probably going to slow down a lot. I don't know how much, but it probably will. And I apologize ahead of time for that. I'm going to try my best to get at least 2 book reviews out a week for you, because these books are short. At the very least, you should see at least 1 a week from me. At the very least, because I'm gonna try to get back on schedule with that anyway. But I just get head over heel. I get like head over heels sometimes about certain things. Trying to make so much content. Like I said, I try to do also the things like Goosebumps stuff to try to give you guys something else to talk about in case you want something new. in case you want a recommendation for something you haven't seen before or read before that might be something cool for you. I like to recommend things like that to people, and I just hope that I can keep making good content for you guys. I try to respond to everybody's messages. By the way, I wanted to throw that out there as a little public service announcement. If you have not gotten a response from me on a comment, one of two things has happened. Either I've responded to another comment that you've put up on the channel in the last day or so. If you happen to put up, if you commented on 3 different videos, I might try to reply to every single one of them. If I don't, more than likely I've responded to one of the other ones. So check up on all that if you want to actually talk with me. But number 2, I also want to say, if I missed your comment, please forgive me. I try to keep up with all that. I try to go to my section on my page and try to keep up with how many comments pop up. I like to respond to you guys. I love talking to you guys about Goosebumps. I love talking to you guys about all kinds of stuff. I have a blast talking to you guys about stuff, especially when you recommend things to me or ask me to read a coming up book or whatever for the next book I review. I love hearing that from you guys. It's a blast. But forgive me for not getting to all of your comments all the time. I try my best, but I know I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner, and I fail all the time. That's really all I have to say. I hope that you enjoyed the Q&A video, guys. If I can make another video that might be something you guys would want, please put that down below as well. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Do you have any thoughts on any of these questions? Do you have any answers of yourself for all these questions I answered? I'd love to hear those down below and read them, I guess, more than hear them down below, just because I like talking to you guys so much. This is a very long video because I'm a rambly idiot, but I want to thank you guys for sitting through all this and talking to me, and you guys mean the world to me, honestly. You're amazing blessings in my life, and I just hope that you will take 2020, and maybe the next year even, and seek out the Lord Jesus Christ, because little things like this, having a community about Goosebumps, is not as fulfilling as a relationship with Jesus. And I'm thankful for Him first and foremost. I'm thankful for what He's given me with you guys. I'm starting to get emotional here. Just, again, you guys being here means a lot to me. It's not a life or death thing, but again, it's a blessing. It's something that I have people here that I know I can rely on, and I know that we can all talk about stuff that comforts us, especially us 90s kids that never grew up. Thank you for watching, and I hope that the Lord Jesus will bless you, and let's try to make another year out of this and talk about some more stuff, God willing, if I'm alive. Because you never know. You never know if you're going to die or not anytime soon. But hopefully I can get around to making more videos and reviews and stuff for you. Hopefully we can get around to watching some more TV episodes and doing some reviews on that sometime soon. Because I still haven't seen all of Goosebumps as a TV show. There's still a lot of it I haven't seen. I haven't watched the trilogy either. So that might be an idea if you guys want something like that here sometime soon. I didn't know if it was more of like a summertime thing or what. So I could do that as like a special thing for you guys. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Again, may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys so much, and thank you for being here for a whole year. Or if you just got here last week, thank you for being here, period. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. God bless you again, and goodbye.